So I'm going to share with you something I've been thinking about lately. Definitely lately because it brings in the whole 20,000 Dow Jones. That was something that Cliff High spoke about many, many, many years ago. I'm talking many years ago. As I mentioned, he was talking to his friend at the time, George Ear, and his argument was we would see 20,000 Dow before the next crash. And this 20,000 Dow happening. I mean, we're not there, but for goodness sakes, 19,999. And then it just, I mean, you're talking pennies. 67 cents, I think. Are you telling me that literally pennies away, the club, or whoever, could not push the stupid Dow Jones to 2,000 or 20,000? So, I'm just going to tell you what I'm thinking of. I don't know that this will ultimately be true or not, but if I'm thinking about it and it keeps coming back in the old noggin, or as Cliff High says, the old monkey mind, I want to discuss it with you guys. So, why is 20,000 important? And I've been thinking, I'm just wondering if 20,000 Dow Jones is not what we might call a signal, if you will, to the club that says it's go time to knock it down. And they're just kind of letting themselves know we're getting close, but we're not ready yet. They push it up to 19,999 to say, hey guys, we're almost there, but not yet. So if this ends up turning out, into anything, what would happen is we would see 20,000 Dow Jones, and then sometime shortly after that, I don't know, market crash. Just a thought I had, not saying that I know this to be factual, no, someone gave me some kind of information. I just cannot sit here and accept that 19,999 and 67 cents could not be pushed to an astronomically important number for the Dow, 20,000. It's a psychological level. Oh my goodness, the Dow Jones has now breached the 20,000 mark. Holy cow. Just like it was very important when it breached 10,000 and then 15,000. Now it's 20, or almost. So I've just been thinking, I wonder if the day comes that we see 20,000 now, because I mean, truth be told, if the market starts collapsing, right after Trump takes office, or a week or two, or a month, or whatever it is, and we don't get an actual 20,000 or higher Dow Jones, I'm still going to be thinking, well, he did say 20,000 Dow how many years ago? A decade ago plus, older than that, longer than that. And 19,999 is close enough for me. But my thought is that 20,000 may be a signal, so to speak, to the club. It's go time. So we haven't hit it yet. Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it won't. But I read an article from Dave Kranzler. And Dave Kranzler is I think he run a hedge fund? Precious metal fund manager. Dave Kranzler. I had to mute that for you while I coughed right into the microphone. So he has this article on his site, which is investmentresearchdynamics.com, titled Trump Dump Coming to the Stock Market. And you're going to hear for all the right reasons why he thinks this is the case. Not going to be anything you haven't heard, but certainly not by me. But anyways, this kind of got my gears turning again, where I said, I keep thinking about this 20,000 Dow. I need to at least say something about it, get it off my chest, so to speak, let people hear this. Again, not that it may mean anything, but you're telling me they can't push that up pennies? They control everything. They can't push that thing up pennies to just hit their all-time high of 20,000? Come on. So he says the stock market shot up like a Roman candle for idiotic reasons after the election. The candle may have reached its apex when the Dow hit 19,999 and 67 cents last week. As I stated in my short seller's journal, I was stunned that bank traders were unable to push the index up to the holy grail number of 20,000. Again, I know he's talking about, the bank traders, but we can just, like I said, the club, whether it's a bank trader, central bank behind the scenes, whatever the mechanism, you have what we could like to call the plunge protection team or the president's working group on financial matters. This group can push the market any way they want, any market, anything in any market on any given day. They can intervene and say, well, we need to cause some stability, so we purchased a crap load of Dow Jones, stock, and pushed it up to the 20K mark. They could have done it. So he's saying the same thing too. He's stunned. How could they not just push it up a little bit higher? He doesn't say what I said about my thought that maybe it's an important signal to the club. It's go time. We're not ready for go time. We're close. 19,999, but not yet. Or maybe I'm just talking out of my rear end and this means nothing. But anyways, this says, of course, in and of itself, the Dow 20,000 watch was moronic. 30 stocks do not make an economic system. Sorry, Fox, CNBC, Bloomberg, CNN, etc. I also stated in my Short Sellers Journal in the issue 2 weeks ago, and long before Zero Hedge posted the comment from some guy named DeMark, who predicted the Dow would never hit 20,000, that 20,000 might not happen. In fact, I titled the issue, Is Dow 20,000 Now Out of Reach? So this is essentially two people saying, I don't think 20,000 is going to happen now. And he's going to make a case as to why. I could easily make the case on the other way, because they can set the price to any level that they want to. And the fact that they didn't push it to the exact 20,000, again, nothing happens by chance. So there's a reasoning behind that. Unfortunately, I cannot sit here and tell you, like wish I knew some elitist, why that was happening. Why did it not, Mr. Elitist, why did the Dow not go to 20,000? Why did it stop at 19,999? And then he'd give me the answer, oh, Jay Snip, that's just, tell your viewers because when they see that number, that's when the crash is going to happen. Oh, okay, I'll tell them that, right? I don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So I have to speculate on some reasons. There's no question that they couldn't have pushed that higher. Without a doubt, they could have easily done it. The Dow 20,000 financial media promotion has bordered on vulgar. Fox Business, which I keep on mute at all times, kept a Dow 20,000 watch banner at the bottom of its broadcast during the entire trading day for the last 2 weeks of 2016. It disappeared last week. In the context of the entire stock market and the U.S. economy, it's meaningless for the Dow to hit 20K other than as a powerful propaganda tool. The housing market is one of the most important segments of the economy. The DJ Home Construction Index is down 9.7% today, which this was posted on the 11th, January 11th, from its 52-week high in July. Retail spending may be even more critical to generating GDP than housing. The XRT Retail ETF is down 9% from its 52-week high. Well, actually not high, but from its 52 weeks. It doesn't say high, whatever, on December 8th. This stock index has literally tanked during a period of time that is supposed to be the best seasonal period of the year for retail sales. There's a serious message there. That's where the rubber meets the road, not from meaningless platitudes and sound bites from a president-elect. Essentially, Trump promised on election night to spend trillions and cut taxes deeply and to pay for those based on borrowing trillions. These are policy proposals that are destined to fail from the moment the words left Trump's mouth. But the stock market went nuts to the upside, culminating in what I would argue, based on using apples-to-apples accounting comparisons, the most overvalued U.S. stock market in history. Perhaps in the modern era, only the Weimar German and Zimbabwe stock markets were more overvalued. Stay tuned, because I am very confident that the Fed is not done printing trillions. This is not the kind of stock chart in which I would want to be invested, he says. Yes, of course, the stock market could break up or down, but since Christmas, every attempted assault on 20K has been rejected. And the Dow opens higher every morning, only to sell off afternoon into the close. Monday was a perfect example. Today, Tuesday, January 11th, it looked like the Dow was going to make another assault on 20K, but during Trump's highly anticipated press conference, the Dow sold down hard from 19,970 to 19,840. That is a preview of what is likely to come in the coming months ahead as the U.S. economic fundamentals continue to deteriorate, notwithstanding the barrage of economic fake news coming from the government and certain industry pimp associations, if you will. If you like the analysis laid out above, he says you can get similar commentary with even more in-depth analysis and research by subscribing to his Short Sellers Journal. I also present at least 2 short sell ideas along with ideas for using options. And again, that was investmentresearchdynamics.com. That is Dave Kranzler. So he's noticing too that the Dow Jones could have easily hit 20,000. It's utter nonsense that it went up anyways based off of a president being elected and his, again, rhetoric about, I'm going to print the hell out of some money to pay for all these things that I'm going to be bringing, or to make America great again, so to speak. We're going to do infrastructure projects, which is going to cost trillions. We're going to supposedly build up the most powerful Navy. God only knows how many that's going to cost, right? He's bringing back all these companies, and I get it. Give them good tax deals, let them come back. Great. Bring the jobs home. I'm so for that. But if you spend a ton of money, it's first of all borrowed into existence, not just created. And if interest rates are rising, and they have been, and the outlook right now is that they're going to, again, raise higher, or rise at least, I know they do 0.25% here and there, whatever. But any little rising of the interest rates is detrimental. Not detrimental, maybe that's not the right word. Devastating to the national debt. Because we have to pay interest on the national debt. So if you're paying $500 billion a year in payments, let's say, for that debt, and that's at a 1% interest rate, you raise that rate up 1%, and it would have an absolutely devastating consequence. So, and the thing is, nothing happened. Nothing changed. All of a sudden, you're just paying more money. The interest rates changed, and now we, collectively as taxpayers, are paying more money on the same amount of principal, that a ton of which is owned by the Federal Reserve itself. So you would argue, why are we paying any interest if the Federal Reserve is the one that's holding it anyways? And that was Ron Paul's argument on his way out of Congress. We should at least pass a bill, he said, so that the portion that the Federal Reserve is holding, we do not pay tax on. And I've mentioned this before, but I don't know if that went anywhere. He said that we should do it, but nothing happened. So I don't know if someone put a bill together or if he tried to pass it and it finally got passed. I hadn't been able to find anything on that. So I think it was just him saying, we need to do that. And by the way, I'm leaving, Congress, but a little pro tip from Ron Paul is what we need to do. I would agree. If you're going to do it this way, which is the wrong way anyways, fractional reserve lending, money printing that we borrow into existence, we should just use the money. And if we're borrowing into existence by the entity that's printing the money, that's essentially like us doing it, then that entity gets nothing. You're not getting interest payments from us for money that you get to create out of thin air. You get to create money out of thin air. It's your job to use a printing press and then collect the massive rewards and profit on interest, on the interest payments. Could you imagine? You get a printer, only you get to use it, and you have this entity called government that by default needs more and more and more and more money because the system you set them up on in 1913 with your Federal Reserve requires borrowing of money to fund the government. And for each dollar that's printed, $1 plus interest is owed back. But they never print the interest. They only print the principal. So how does one pay back the principal plus interest if only the principal has been printed? You got to borrow more money. So we got to go back. I got to borrow some more money to pay the first bill. Oh, but now I got a second bill. Well, that's right. I don't have to pay it now. I'll pay it next. Okay. And this perpetual debt cycle goes on until we find ourselves where we are today. $20 trillion in debt. Federal Reserve, because the Chinese, Japan, everyone else backing way off. We don't want to buy too much of those treasuries anymore. So now the number one buyer of those things are like, the Federal Reserve basically. But they just shouldn't get an interest payment on top of it. Absolutely not. So at any rate, back, to the main point of this article, should have hit 20,000. They could have easily made it hit 20,000. There's been a few attempts since the new year, and even at the very end of last year, to push it to 20,000, and they just can't seem to do it. And he's right. They just can't seem to do it. But again, they can do it. They can do it. They control everything. So why didn't they do it is a more important question. And the only thing that I can think of, because a $20,000 Dow versus a $19,000 Dow doesn't mean anything. Does your mortgage change? Does your interest rates go up? Does adjustable rate mortgages kick in higher? Do you got to pay more debt back? No, it's just a stock. It's a price of a stock. Nothing happens. It's not devastating for anybody. It's sitting there hovering around 20,000. Nothing to see here. So then why couldn't they push it? I think because it means something to them as part of their little agenda to let loose on the markets only when we hit 20,000 Dow or thereabouts, whatever. And again, you could argue, well, that 19,999, that's pretty much there. I would agree. Maybe that was the symbol. Guys, when we get 9999, flip them over 666, right? 19,999, flip it over 666 because they love esoteric crap. That's our symbol. So maybe that was it, and we're getting ready for a crash to happen here shortly. Very possible. But again, you could have done there, hovered on it. Next day went to 20,000, whatever. So I just want to share that with you. Take care.